everyone. Brian from Raven's Cauldron, again coming to you live. A lot of these videos you're going to see in this era of the Cauldron are coming from my basement dungeon office under the store in Delaware. That's where you see this funky stuff in the background. We're actually in a very old building. 1800s it was built, and I'm actually, it used to be a Revco. This which is kind of interesting. There was a Revco store here in downtown Delaware, and this was the building where it was at. And there was something called a cigarette cage back in the day when cigarettes were a big deal. And this is where they were stored, and it was also somebody's office. So under the front of the store, very creepy and cool down here. But we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about the Page of Wands and our tarot deep dives. And eventually there's going to be one video of 10 to 12, 14 minutes about each card in the tarot deck, as well as reversed and upright. Today we're talking about the upright Page of Wands, which is exciting. So for me, wands they're the fertilizer of life. They're the seeds of life too, if you will. They're what makes us who we are. You know, of course, cups are emotions, and intellect and thoughts are swords, and tangible earning potential and things are pentacles. Wands are what inspires us, who we are, what we care about. Not necessarily what we're known for, but what we really, really care about. And then when you talk about the court cards, so pages, knights, queens, kings, those trip people up when you are an aspiring tarot reader, and that is because they're not so simple as something like a Five of Wands, where we can instantly draw up that that's about productive conflict among peers, if you will, and arguments about what we care for and what we're passionate about. The court cards, no matter what the suit, they're more archetypes. So they're embodying energies, facets of life, stages of life. Some people kind of attribute them to quarters of life, if you will. If you were to take somebody's lifespan and put it into quarters, then we could easily say a Page of Wands is that time when we're in grade school all the way through college, where we're thirsting and looking for knowledge and embracing everything and figuring out who we are, all the way up to a king, which leads their life with wisdom and authority because of the path that they've walked, if you will. So, but we're not here to talk about the court cards. I'll do a separate video about that. We are here to talk about the Page of Wands, and here it is. If you can see, this is a Rider-Waite version, so well-defined and agreed-upon symbolism in this card. So let's just take this card apart, and let's talk about what I see with this card in a reading. Like if you came to get a reading for me, and the likely outcome of the spread that we're reading for, or what you need to know, is the Page of Wands. What the hell does that mean, right? And that's where you as a tarot reader can get completely messed up on these things, and that's how this kind of helps out with that. So the Page of Wands, again, to read wands, what does it mean? It's the fire. It's all suits in tarot decks have elemental representation, and fire is what represents the entire suit of wands. Passion. If we're talking about crystals, it would be a piece of carnelian, is what you would want to vibe with for wands. Something that awakens the fire. A lot of times in our lives, if I do a tarot reading and there's not a wands card missing, and there are upside down emotion cards, and that's when you start synergizing, and I might say something like, there's a missing passion in your life, and I might try to drill down with you, like, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What do you truly care about? And so I answer those questions for me. And so we're talking about my wands, because you all know what I do. 25 years in information technology, working in data analytics, database administration, managing teams that worked with data, to owning 2 metaphysical shops and an escape room complex. Started doing that in my late 40s, mid to late 40s. You can see in my wands is metaphysical stuff. That's what gets me out of the bed in the morning. Crystals, tarot cards, things I can't see and touch, but truly have enhanced my life, and things that I believe in. That's what gets me out of the bed in the morning. That's my fire. That's my passion. And so if you were to take a tarot reading about my life, for instance, and we boil that down, we can say, you know, for 25 years, I made good money going to work every day, working in IT, because my parents told me to get my ass out of bed, get to college, and get a trade so I can support myself, and I did just that. No time did my parents tell me, because I come from a different generation, that it wasn't always the case then. Also, make sure that you love what you're doing and find something that you love, so that when you get out of bed every morning, you're not going to be late for work, dragging ass in there, because you don't really care. You're living through someone else's dream. Not everyone is meant to own their own business and run their own gig. I personally am. I struggle with walking behind somebody's vision and implementing their vision for them. That's hard for me when I've got so many fruitful ideas bubbling through my head. That's why I'm kind of a wands person. I'm a Virgo too. So the Page of Wands. So remember that time, it doesn't matter about how old you are, but a time in your life, for me, it would have been from 18 to 25, we'll say. From the time I started college until I was well into my first job, was thirsting for knowledge. Everything was new. I was excited. I saw the potential in everything in front of me, no matter what it was. Fast forward now to 52 years old, and I'm kind of a little jaded, and if somebody gives me an idea of something that I've been there, done that, and I'm jaded, I don't want to hear it. And not saying that's right, but that's what wisdom does to you. And so when you look at the Page of Wands, you see this character holding a wand that is firmly planted in the ground, and they're looking up at this wand, and it is sprouting green, fertile leaves, and they're looking at it with kind of inspiration and amazement. What does that mean? That means like, oh, I could see that. So look at that wand as an idea out of their mind, an idea that they might think is crazy. I use examples from my life to help personify what we're talking about here. Please don't ever think that this is narcissistic and it's all about me. I'm just using my personal stories to show you what this card means. So I have an escape room complex. I started Raven's Cauldron up down the road from here, about 2 blocks south of where I'm sitting, in 2019. Within a couple years, I bought the building, and I owned the building, and there was a computer repair store and some apartment upstairs. But I didn't want those people up there in my business, so I kind of emptied out the building, and then it became storage upstairs. My wands moment. What does this have? What the hell does this have to do with the Page of Wands, Brian? Well, what it has to do with is I woke up in the middle of the night one time trying to think, I own this building now, and I'm wasting space upstairs. Yeah, I'm storing some shit up there, but I can do that anywhere. So what does it mean? And I decided I love escape rooms. I've never been to an escape room that wasn't boring in the middle of a strip mall that kind of... Yeah, you walk in there and there's some sort of cool manor vibe, but you know that there's a GNC and a Starbucks next door, and it just doesn't work. Well, this is a kooky old Victorian building with a big old, beautiful bridal staircase, a little bit of Delaware history. And so, long story short, I decided I'm going to try to put escape rooms up here. Now, the Page of Wands, he's looking and the staff is firmly in the ground. That means that it's a possibility. So I started thinking about that. I didn't immediately call the construction company and start putting up walls and electronics to make an escape room. I started looking at legalities, fire codes, profitability on escape rooms, talked to some people that own one, looked for something like I was trying to do here, which was take an existing kind of structure and retrofit it into an escape room. Long story short, we went with it. We outgrew the building for Raven's Cauldron. The escape rooms opened up upstairs. We had 3 of them upstairs, and we were running the store downstairs. We now are down here downtown. We've outgrown that, and we have 5 escape rooms, soon to be 6, a cell room in the basement that we're putting in. That is a Wands, and specifically a Page of Wands. I didn't just take the idea and run with it. I researched it. That's where my wisdom comes in because of my age. If I were 21 and a Page of Wands, and that's where you have to be careful, you kind of have to follow through. It's very much like an Ace of Wands, you know, a new spark, a new opportunity. But the Page of Wands gives you the mentality, the fire. It lights the spark. It gives you the idea. The Ace of Wands, if we were talking about Ace of Wands, is a new opportunity that requires follow through. Ace of Wands require you to pick up the ball and run with it, not just, you know, some people want an idea to fall in their lap and then continue doing their life and it builds itself and they retire. That's not how it works. The Ace of Wands requires your involvement and follow through. The Page of Wands requires you to slow your roll a little, because if you're looking at that nervous, like, just out of college, I know everything, and yeah, this is going to work, I'm going to do it and run with it, do your research first. So that's in crux what the Page of Wands is about. It's about an archetype idea of fresh ideas and possibilities and inspiration. What's cool about the card are a couple of things. There are salamanders on the card, specifically on the person's outfit that is holding the wand. Salamanders are an ancient symbol of fire and transformation. Wands are about transformation. I have a new idea. There's a reason this idea came into my life, because I'm a little bit stagnant right now. And hey, why can't I do this? No one's ever done this. I'm going to transform and keep building my life. Wands are all about building the life that you want, not the life that you need. You know, we start getting into pentacles and stuff. You need to have stability. You need to have foundation. You need to have earth around you, a job to pay for your mortgage, to pay for your car, to live your life. And then when wands start coming in, but we need to make sure that those things are something that I want to do, because we don't just want this existence where we do what our parents told us to do, and you get out of bed, you get out early, you go to work, and you work all your life, and by gosh, everything is going to be perfect. Well, that's not true. Yes, that's true. You can make big money. I personified that in IT, but I didn't like it. Technology doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. Yeah, it's cool stuff. I love to play video games and stuff, but working in an IT team and going to meetings all day and doing security stuff, that doesn't excite me. It excites many people. I have a really good friend, Chuck. He loves technology. I just happened to do it for years and was good at it, but it doesn't get me going. Metaphysical studies get me going. So find your wands, and pages are the best as far as new stuff, because you get that excitement, that it's just this wonderful, wonderful feeling when you're doing it. And that's really, really, really cool. So look in the background of the card too. Look at the mountains in the background of this page. I want to try to reflect that light. So they're barren. It's like a desert mountain. There's no growth on it at all. The only growth in this picture, he is standing on desert ground and desert mountains with sand in the background. What the hell does that mean? What were these people thinking when they made these cards? It simply means that, and I get told all the time, you know, I could fall in a pit of sewage and come out smelling like a rose. Some people call that luck. Some people call that. That's because I'm a fire person. I'm constantly looking for something new, and I won't take no for an answer. If I want it to work out, it's going to work out. It doesn't fall in my lap, though. It requires so much work. And so what that's saying in the background is that ignore your surroundings, ignore everything around you. If you go plant seeds in sand in the desert with no water, what are they going to do? Nothing. It's saying that you're going to defy the odds, and it's that archetype. It's mental stability. It's mental, you know, that you know the whole thing about being sick. You know, if you have a terminal illness and you approach it from two different corners, you approach it with the curmudgeon, and I'm going to die next week and I hate my life. You very well probably will. If you look at it from, hey, this sucks, but I'm going to get past this. Attitude is everything. That's what this card is saying. Ignore that everything is stacked against you and statistics, and this probably won't work. Take that escape room that I told you about that I built. It's on the south side of Delaware. It was kind of a grubby old building. We had to put new siding on it, rewire it, replumb it, and bring it back into the modern day age. The odds were stacked against us that an escape room in that area would really garner attention. And you know what? For the first year, it was so-so. It garnered just a little bit of attention. It's a massive business now, and it's done very well for us. And it's because I believed in my fire. And those mountains in the background, everything around me was saying this may not be the best idea. I ignored, and I went for it, and I did it. Fire, wands is kind of like ignoring the data for a second. Yes, we should always make data-driven decisions, but sometimes that's boring, and sometimes you need to take a chance. And when you're taking a chance, there's no data to back it up, because the data doesn't exist, and you have to feel it from your fire, from that pit of your stomach, from what gets you out of bed in the morning. And that's the page of wands. It's an archetype, and take on that energy, take on that archetype that just out of college, I don't know everything, but I'm inspired by this. And I see this in front of me, and I'm going to try it, and it's going to take me to the next step. That's all I have to say today. This is Brian, coming to you from the dungeon under the Cauldron. Raven's Cauldron at 6 North Sandusky Street in downtown Delaware, or ravenscauldron.com. Check us out. And until next time, have a great, safe day. Talk again.